All right. Good evening. We're going to say good morning because we're pre-recording. We're pre-recording today's show, so we're going to say good morning to everyone. Hopefully, everyone is having a great day of it out there on the highways and byways across the United States of America. This is the Rates and Lanes podcast. I am your host, Rico Muhammad. Of course, my good friend next door to me, that's my co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow. If you ladies and gentlemen would do us a huge favor, a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the proceedings this evening. Please like, share, and subscribe to the show. Hit the little bell icon. That gets you notified as whenever we do post new content, new information to the channel. You'll be one of the first people to know. It helps us out tremendously. Doesn't cost you a dime, but it helps us out tremendously. So if you would do that, if you find anything that we talk about today in the least bit knowledgeable, entertaining, funny, whatever, we'll take it all. Please do that for us. And with that being said, and without any further ado, I've already introduced my co host, but Chuck, how are you doing this week?
We're doing great. You know what? Things couldn't be better for in some ways. In some other ways, I know that a lot of our friends in the trucking industry are having a tough time right now, and hopefully, given what we're going to talk about, maybe a little bit of help's on the way. You never know.
I, I honestly believe 26 is going to be a much better year. We have experienced, they have in the industry, they have been calling this a 3 year freight recession. It's been about three and a half years of really no growth, really tight market. Things have really been tightening up, and I think that yeah. So the hottest news that's coming off the press right now is that the DOT tightens rules and regulations for non-citizen truck drivers, non-domiciled drivers. Um, I want to get over to a story. I want to read the statistics that they some of the news industries have posted. And this happened on Friday. DOT held a press conference releasing a new interim final rule related to non-domiciled CDL issuances that intends to push almost 200,000 non-citizen drivers out of the industry, potentially boosting rates for domestic carriers. And I for one, if you're going to lose 200,000 people as far as capacity is concerned, I think that definitely is going to have some direct correlation to capacity. And like they said in the article just now, reading this from Overdrive, want to give credit to Alex Locke. It's his story. Reading from Overdrive magazine, Overdrive Online, says that FMCSA found approximately 200,000 non-domicile CDL holders and approximately 20,000 non-domicile commercial learners permit. So that's 220,000. I think that's a significant number.
I'm going to guess you. Well, by the time they start really looking, it'll be double that if they start
Non
really looking.
Next bullet point here: non-domicile CDL holders will now have to renew their license in person annually, and FMCSA expects 194,000 of them won't make the cut within 2 years. FMCSA, the next bullet point says FMCSA found 1 in 4 non-domicile CDLs in California were issued improperly, and other major issuances came from the states of Colorado, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, Texas, and Washington. States that issued non-domicile CDLs and CLPs will be required to pause issuances of those CDLs and CLPs until they can ensure compliance within the updated regulations. And the final bullet point here: California, home of the most egregious license violations, got an additional letter giving the state 30 days to come into compliance with the new regulation or face having its CDL program decertified and loss of up to $160 million in federal highway funds. This was all part of the press conference that came out on Friday from DOT Secretary Sean Duffy, which follows an April executive order from Donald Trump to enforce the English language proficiency and investigate the issuance of non-domiciled CDLs. So big shot across the bow to the industry as far as non-domiciled CDL holders is concerned. Uh, your initial reaction, Chuck?
Well, you know what? I was going along with it all. I'm listening to it now. I actually saw somebody. You had sent me
Yeah, I
the
sent the actual press conference.
video on Friday, and I'll be honest, I don't have my attention span was never great, especially for things like that. But I listened to every single word because it really affects what we do, and it affects the trucking industry in all forms. And I thought, yeah, this is really. And then the more I listened, the more I thought, and then when they attacked California right away, and they attacked them pretty heavily. Now, maybe they rightfully deserve it, but given this administration, and I don't, you know what, and I will say this, I harbor no ill feelings towards the Trump administration. I think some of the stuff they're doing is insane, and I think other things they're doing are brilliant. So, good and bad. But I felt that this was a real shot against the governor of California, Newsom, because he's picking up some momentum on the federal level, and he could be a threat to the next election. Because some people do like him personally. I will go on record to say, no, I don't particularly like the governor of California. I think he's an odd duck. But that's my opinion, and I don't want to. But the way he went on with California, I thought, number one, that became just getting even with somebody he didn't like. Number two, I felt that there were some real racial overtones to this thing. I don't know, maybe as a Canadian, I see things a little bit different. And third of all, what it reeked of, I hate to say this, and some of you will agree, some of you won't. It reeked of nationalism. And there seems to be a real thing with nationalism right now. Sometimes this could be a good thing, but sometimes it could be a bad thing because nationalism can carry on too much. And that's what happened in World War II with Germany. So we're on a slippery slope right now. The idea of cleaning house and making the road safer, well, everybody knows safety is, we all want to go home tonight to our families. We want our families to come home to us. We all share the roads, every one of us. Having people out on those roadways that are not trained properly, can't do the job properly, piloting an 80,000-pound machine down the road, pretty dangerous if they don't know what they're doing. So all in favor of cleaning up the highways, but what's behind it?
I will say this as far as my reaction is concerned when it comes down to the non-domicile part. I'm definitely, I want to say this in the correct manner. When it comes to the non-domicile part, I agree that I think that this was a big push from the reason that we have this issue of non-domicile drivers back when the narrative of driver shortage was being really pushed. I think that this was a ploy by bigger corporations or whatever to get more people to come into the country to get cheaper labor. I honestly,
I can't argue with
honestly,
that.
that's one of my opinions. Now, as far as the safety aspect of it is concerned, whether you're non-domiciled, domiciled, or whatever, because I'm going to speak on the point of the CDL system definitely needs to be a lot held to a much higher standard. And I say that because I have been, me personally, and I know that there's a lot of videos floating around on, especially this past week. There's tons and tons of videos floating around on social media showing the lack of ability to be able to drive a truck, whether it be backing or whatever else. And you see those videos all the time. And this is from someone that is homegrown, domestic, born and bred in the United States, or a foreigner that's a non-domiciled driver. the amount of people that are out here that have been entrusted into driving these trucks and that have licenses is baffling. I see it. Like I said, I've been approached several times. I've been sitting in the dock back in. Um, I'm going to give just personal experiences. I've had female. It was a female driver. She was born and bred in the United States, but she couldn't back into the dock. She didn't know how to back her truck into the dock. Asked me to please back her truck into the dock. I've had that happen from a male driver. Don't want to just throw off on a female driver. I've had that happen from a male driver. I actually was sitting in a dock and was hit by a non-domiciled CDL driver sitting in the dock. This is real world firsthand experience. I know that could be anecdotal, but that's just been my experience. So I think that from a 20,000 foot view, the entire CDL program definitely needs to be put under a microscope, and we definitely need to have further scrutiny going on. Something
Rico,
else that
I got to interrupt here. I can't agree more. We do have to relook at this whole thing because it's gotten, trucking. When I started in a truck with no seat belts, with metal dashboards, no safety, nothing safety in the whole damn truck except brakes, and we didn't even have front brakes in those days. We only had rear brakes. They didn't have front brakes, or you disconnected them in the rain. So trucks have gotten a whole lot safer. But on the other hand, trucks have gotten very simplistic to drive in some ways because of the automatic. And that was another barrier to entry that we had, was the manual transmission. When I started, it was either a twin stick transmission or an air shift, like your 10 and 13 speeds and stuff like that. But you still had to be able to, it wasn't like driving the family car.
Right.
Today, you could actually take somebody that had never driven anything,
Right.
nothing in their life. They rode a horse and put them in a semi truck and say, here, Joe, I'm going to show you how to drive this thing. And you could.
Yeah, definitely. I think more and more because the manuals are definitely definitely being phased out. It's harder and harder to find trucks that are manuals nowadays. I'm glad that I know how to do both. Well, I mean, there's nothing to driving an automatic, really. You just put it in drive and go. But the thing when it comes to backing, when I remember in school, see, driving is for show, backing is for dough. You don't get paid till you bump the dock.
I like that.
And before they even before we even got to go out with on our initial training, we had to pass docking. We had to pass docking at school. Like I said, I went to school. I was trained under MS Carriers.
Okay, they had a good school then. They were a great
company. They had a whole facility, and we went through a whole 1 month. It was a whole 1 month ordeal going through to get training. I actually got my CDL in high school. I drove school buses, so I even got a passenger endorsement on my CDL. But yeah, they say driving is for show, backing is for dough. You don't get paid till you bump the dock. And in our training sessions, we didn't get a chance to go out with our trainers until we could pass the backing portion of the training for the CDL testing. They had third-party testers, and some years after I came through that school, actually, when they got acquired by Swift, when MS Carriers got acquired by Swift, there was a scandal at that school that I went to, and this is another issue about the whole CDL. Like I said, the whole thing needs to be kind of gone through with a fine-tooth comb, because not only there was a scandal at that school, but there have been scandals across the nation. And especially now with the non-domicile things as well. I'm just going to group them all together. I'm not going to single out just one, but there have been scandals. I'm sure everybody remembers the news stories about the scandals at from third-party testers. People are getting paid they're slipping money under the table to get licensed, so on and so forth. And that's a huge, huge issue. And these are government officials that are being entrusted with, like I say, the public safety. So this is something that definitely has to be. Um, there's supposed to be a standard, and the standard is the standard. And we should be, as government officials, you're held to a standard to require a certain standard in order to be issued a CDL. And I think that people should take that, the days and times of people really taking their jobs that they're paid for with some amount of seriousness, or you know what I'm saying, like really having pride in what it is that they do. Um, that's nowadays people just want their paycheck. They don't really care about it.
Well,
They
that's
don't.
where they, you know what? It's funny. And that's one of the things that's happened now. And now the chickens have come home to roost
Mhm.
because when I got into it, it was a job you took pride in.
Right.
Okay. You took pride. You behaved a certain way. You were told by your seniors, listen, you don't want to look like an idiot out there. Carry yourself accordingly. Don't walk into the shipper with a bad attitude. All these things that the older guys told us, and most of us didn't have to learn that because we knew that already because we were passionate about what we were going to be doing.
Yeah, all of this stuff comes just in the everyday, boots on the ground, being out there every day. All of this stuff is coming to, just like when you're going down the highway, the amount of trucks that are sitting directly in the middle lane and will not move over, or even in the left lane, it won't be in the proper lanes. All of these are the manifestations of not holding up a standard when it comes to getting the CDL. These
Yeah.
are these are the things that they might be small and minute, but these things add up to someone. Secretary Duffy made the statements. I couldn't imagine anyone in their right mind attempting to make a U-turn on the turnpike. Well, this is a manifestation of us continually allowing the standard to go down to what it is, and not holding the standard to what it should be, and what I'm accustomed to.
And what we're all accustomed to, and what our industry was built on. And I've gotten into arguments with people. Try not to argue with idiots, but sometimes you just find yourself doing that. And with the way people behave, the way that people dress, the way people throwing pee bottles out in public, and just all sorts of things. Watching a guy drive down the highway with one foot on the dashboard.
Yeah.
How professional is that?
Yep.
We were always considered the knights of the road. The knights of the road don't have a bare foot sitting on their left foot sitting on the dashboard. That is not professional. And if you have to react quickly, I don't think you are in a very good ergonomic position to react quickly when you have one foot up on the dashboard. I'm sorry. I just don't. You have a blowout on a front tire. Things happen like that, as you know. Something happens. A wheel flies off a truck. An alligator comes off a rim. Whatever. You've got to be able to react, and you need both hands and both feet just to kind of brace yourself for what may come next.
Exactly.
It's all this thing, and my hat off to Mr. Duffy, Secretary Duffy. I know he was delivering a message. Some of it came right from the president, but I have to tell you, this guy is the first secretary I have seen of that administration ever that had that in-depth knowledge of our industry. Hallelujah. We got somebody that knows something.
Well, I think that he's a former, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's a former DOT officer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that, but I think I am correct. I think he came out of Florida. I think he was a former DOT officer, or he was on, or something of that nature. He was involved with the DOT.
I tried to look up a little bit, and what the heck was he? I think he was a rodeo rider when he was a kid or something.
As a matter of fact, let's see if we can do a quick Google search.
Okay, real quick. We don't want to waste a lot of our listeners' and
No, no,
viewers.
no. Let's see if we can do a quick Google search. See if we can find out. Get a little bit more in depth on Secretary Sean Duffy. Well, we got his Wikipedia. We all know how well. Let's go. Let's see what he got on the. Let's see what the U.S. Department of Transportation has out about him. Da, 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 da.
I know he was a politician and I believe a lawyer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was incorrect. Yes, he was. The legal career began as a special prosecutor in Ashland County, Wisconsin,
Okay.
where he was later the district attorney. Okay. So no, he wasn't. Maybe I don't know where I got that from that he was involved.
But he learned about trucking, which is, you know what, all the rest of them, I've met some of them, nice people, but they didn't know anything about trucking. This guy seems to understand our industry. He understands the plight of the industry, which was so refreshing.
Yes, yes, and it's good. Hopefully, I hear a lot of good things coming down that they're looking into the whole parking situation as well. I'm hearing a lot of stuff, and I would hope that we start to see some significant progress when it comes to the Department of Transportation with those things. Also, I would be remiss without announcing this as well. Let me see if I can find the story on this because I don't want to botch this. But there's also they also released a where you can report brokers.
This is
They were talking about they added.
right. No, we froze there for a second. Rico? Well, Rico's gone silent for a sec, but just give us a sec and we'll save this. We have great technology, but when it doesn't work, sometimes it's not so good. So we'll see how we can save this and continue on here. If you can hear me, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that from what I'm seeing, there are some good things about to happen in the US as compared to the last 3 years, what we've seen. Unfortunately, I'm domiciled up in Canada, and our Canadian truckers are having a real hard time, as are all of our business people. Retail has just plummeted, and these tariffs, which there we go. Okay, we're right back.
I don't know what the heck happened to my internet just now.
It happens.
But excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, for the little glitch. But yeah, now let's see if I can get back up here to the. Well, go ahead, Chuck. I don't want to interrupt your thought.
No. I was just telling people what we're, how I think the U.S. has got some good things ahead of it. I think we have. I think we bottomed out in the U.S. pretty close to now.
Okay.
I understand.
The story that I was also looking for: FMCSA makes it easier to call out bad brokers with National Consumer Complaint Database update. So now they're right on the FMCSA's website. There is a place here where you can go to the National Consumer Complaint Database. Want to file a complaint? Complaints can be filed against moving companies and brokers, bus companies, truck companies, hazardous material shippers, cargo tank facilities, electronic logging device providers, medical review officers, substance abuse professionals, and property brokers. Uh, so DOT Secretary Sean Duffy on Wednesday, he's been busy this week.
Good for him. You know what?
on,
I think he's our great white hope.
on Wednesday, announced the launch of the first phase of the National Consumer Complaint Database, NCCDB, modernization with a new web page that allows users to specifically call out bad brokers. The FMCSA said that the update intends to improve the navigation and enhance the functionality of its important tool for enhanced user capabilities for commercial drivers, motor carriers, and consumers. FMCSA directs drivers and consumers to report violations of FMCSA regulations related to safety, fraud, household goods movements. Has long lacked basic functionality for motor carriers in 2023. The Government Accountability Office called out FMCSA for not meeting the needs of motor carriers in several key areas. The FMCSA has not designated significant controls to help ensure its policy for reviewing complaints related to motor carriers is followed the report. So now we have, as motor carriers, there is a way to report if you feel like you have been violated by a broker, whether it comes to, now I'm not sure exactly what kind of remedies they are going to offer with this whole thing, but there is definitely, it seems to be some type of way to try to hold brokers to somewhat of an accountability standpoint where you feel like if you've been violated. And I'm not sure because of the way that contracts and everything are written, I'm not sure how this going to, we talked about this a couple of weeks back when it comes to detention and things of that nature being held at certain shippers and receivers. I didn't see a thing on there where you can report shippers because, but I guess there's definitely where it said hazardous material shippers, not necessarily shippers as a whole.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's hazardous material shippers that are not doing the, following protocol
Right.
for loading and loading and placarding and things like that. My concern now, God bless the administration for doing this. It's high time, but no offense to anybody, but are we just hearing some lip service? Is there somebody there that's enforcing the law? Because you can have all these great laws, but if there's nobody to enforce it, what good is it?
All bark and no bite.
Right. We have a law, or you have a wonderful law in the United States that's called, I don't know if you're familiar with it, tampering with interstate goods. Now, one time, if you messed with a interstate shipment, it was not as serious as murder, but it was more serious than kidnapping. And they, at one time, many, many years ago.
Right.
Now that law is just as toothless as my 86-year-old grandmother was when she passed.
Well, I mean, you got all the fraud that's going on. The industry is honeycombed with fraudsters.
Right. And I don't know how the hell we're going to get in front of that, but there are fraud fighters out there doing the best they can do, but there are some real bright, organized criminal gangs that are.
Oh yeah.
They're just preying on, because trucking and somehow they figured this out. Trucking is an industry of trust. It always has been. And these guys look at trust as stupidity.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten to the point where you now have to, all of the different, you got several different things that are out there trying to help fight fraud. I noticed, I was looking at an interview with the guys because Convoy has been acquired by DAT,
Right.
They're rolling out some different things with the technology portion of
Right.
that. It's not convoy as it used to be.
Right.
But I was listening to an interview with the gentleman that's heading that organization, convoy, that part of that up, and they have never, that with their technology that they have utilized, they have never had a freight load stolen.
Wow. Wow.
So it's pretty snazzy because I think that they have the capability of driver devices, the actual, by doing the whole thing with you verifying your device. So
Right.
there's a way for them to kind of always track that particular device or whatever without it being able to. They have some kind of technology as well. I think it's, he wouldn't really go into details. I guess it's proprietary, where you can't spoof the location on the device or whatever. They'll be able to sniff it out if the location is not accurate.
That is, that's great news. Now, we both know that it will only take a matter of time for the criminals, because they've got technology on their side as well. And it becomes like, if you remember the old Fuzzbusters, where it was a cop, a cops and
Yeah,
robbers game.
the people that made the technology for the radar detector also made the technology for the police to
Exactly.
catch you.
Exactly. And they were just kind of, and unfortunately, it'll go like that too, because there's a lot of money at stake for the criminal element.
Yep, yep.
But trucking has lost billions to these fraudsters, billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah. So, and I'm not sure because right now, if they're kicking the can on down the road when it comes to the whole broker transparency deal, I think that that's another thing that's coming up. But I think that there has to be, I would have hoped that I'm going to speak with my carrier hat on, and I know you have the broker. So I think we may see it from two different lenses.
Go ahead.
So from coming from the point of view of the carrier and the service provider, our industry has it was like this when I got into the industry over 20 some odd years ago. The carriers as the service provider, I've never seen it. I'm not going to say never, but it's fairly rare that the service provider, the person that is providing the service, has terms dictated to it by its customer. And I think that's because most people weren't as sophisticated, and they may not they may or may not have known the things that they were giving away when this whole thing was being shaped. And now in these contracts that you sign, especially if you're dealing on the spot market and even dealing with shippers, if you're going direct, these contracts are so I don't want to say antiquated, but they're so one-sided.
They are 100%.
They are so one-sided that you basically have no rights if you're doing business with that person. And I think that there's a place to where there should be some shared responsibility, and there should be some protections that for both parties. I think that there's a fair way in order to get things accomplished. But nowadays, you can't even make adjustments to a broker's contract because now everything is all automated pretty much. Very, very few brokers are. Let me fax it to you. You fill it out and we send it back. Mostly now, everything is going through highway. You have these other different third-party things in the contract is up there. There's no modifying or redlining different items in the contract. It's a take it or leave it. And the majority of those contracts, if you're working on the spot market, you don't really realize how much of your power, rights, and authority that you are giving away, and how much responsibility you are accepting by taking on by just doing business. And sometimes it's the nature of the beast. And I think that some of the stuff, I would hope that this might be
Go
putting
ahead,
a
say
lot.
it.
This might be putting a lot out there. I think that some of this would have to have some type of intervention from a higher level in order to maybe get the playing field back to where it needs to be. Now, whether or not that would actually be a reality, because with the way the government works, you get about as much rights um, as you can afford.
Well, you know what? You're 100% right. Now, remember, I grew up at a time when we had deregulation, or when we had regulation. Although I skirted regulation and kind of worked on the fringes of it as a gypsy,
That's
but
your limitations over with, Chuck.
we'll go through that one night about my days as a gypsy. But anyways, years ago, the carrier had all the rights. He dictated to the shipper, okay, this is what we do. This is the responsibility we take. This is the liability we take. And anything else, that's yours. Deregulation comes and everybody is bowing to the shipper going, how can we serve you? What do you want? We'll take it. And that's what we did. We did it as carriers. We did it as brokers. We're still doing it today.
Yep.
Now, the only time that changes, we went through a wonderful, maybe, let's see, it started in April of 2020 until we had about 2 years where we could have, as an industry, both brokers and carriers, been somewhat dictatorial back to the shippers because they really needed us.
Right.
But now
that window's closed.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's back to whether you're a broker, you're a carrier, the shipper, you walk in there and the shipper says, this is what we do. You don't like it? I got 20 other guys. Don't waste my time. You take it or you leave it. Mostly when you get these contracts from the broker, that's pretty much a mirror image of what the broker has had to agree to in order to get that freight that you want to load on your truck. The broker's not making this stuff up himself. So that's part of the issue. And I don't think that's going to change until we shed. The only way that could change, we would have to shed a lot of players in the industry.
Yeah. And I think that hopefully, this is the other part about circling back around really quickly, and we'll get ready to wrap this thing up and put a bow on it. Circling back around, when it comes to holding the industry back to a higher standard, I think that if we can get back to holding that standard and making people get to that standard, hopefully trucking won't be, because for a while it was sexy. It's sexy to get into trucking. You know, back during the pandemic, you can make all this money. Like I say, you got people out here. It's still a video floating around out there on the internet. You probably can Google it and find it. You can make $1 million with a box truck. I don't know what the hell that guy was selling.
Well, I guess if you're putting some illegal white substance in, maybe.
I don't know what the hell that guy was selling or what he was moving with that box truck, but
wasn't freight.
but I tell you this: if we can get back to a time to where we holding the industry to a certain standard, we're respecting drivers the way that they need to be respected, and drivers are actually holding that standard themselves across the board. I think it's going to be great for the industry. I think it will. I think 2026 is starting to look like we may see some positive momentum going forward. I'm still cautiously optimistic. I'm not predicting anything by any stretch of the imagination, but I am optimistic that 2026 will be a little bit better than what we have been experiencing for the past 3 years. Would love to hear you guys' input. What do you guys think about the new rulemaking for the non-domiciled CDL drivers? What are your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on that? What do you feel about the new FMCSA broker portal, where now you have a way to go back and report brokers? Do you think that's anything that is going to have any teeth to it, like we were saying? We'd love to hear your opinions on that. Talk to us in the comments. Let us know how you feel. Give us some feedback on what you think these things will do and what kind of effect that it's going to have on the industry as well. Any closing remarks, Chuck, before we get ready to kind of put a bow on this episode and get ready?
No, you know what? If you're domiciled in the U.S., hang in there. I think better times are coming. If you're domiciled in Canada, all I can say is good luck, hang in there. I don't know when, but I think unfortunately up in Canada, I think we got a lot more red ink ahead of us before we get back to the black ink. That's all. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is. So just operate as well as you can. If you got to shed some equipment, shed it, take your loss, and keep going. If you
Well,
want to.
there was another story we didn't get a chance to touch on that one. There was another story that there was. Let's see if I can find it really quickly before we get out of here. There it is. Trump imposes 25% tariff on heavy-duty trucks. American Truck Association in May voiced opposition to the prospect for the proposed truck tariffs, stressing the levies could cause financial strain for an industry already struggling. So there was trying to see what date. This will take effect on October 1st, will apply to trucks made outside of the U.S. So I don't know how that breaks down, because the way things pretty much works, a lot of parts are being manufactured in different countries, and stuff may be shipped into the country, and how that for be assembled. Not sure how all that stuff works out, but there was another story that came out this week. This was on. It goes into effect October 1st. This came out September 25th.
Well,
about the 25% tariff being levied on heavy duty trucks.
if it's parts, now I don't know where these parts will fit in with with the existing trade agreements, but if it's parts, then I think we can all expect a huge shortage of certain truck components, which we have suffered. When I was running traffics, we've suffered that a couple times where there was a back order of a part that had been made in Hungary, and it was a steering arm, and it made in Hungary on a couple of Freightliners, and they were able to get one, but the other one they weren't able to get the next day. That we found out they were faulty, and they had to find a source, another manufacturer, and take the die and the tool there. I think in Thailand or Vietnam or one of those countries to make the part. So you know what? There's going to be some pain with that one, but maybe everything will start being made in America again. I don't know.
Yeah. So here it is in a direct tweet. Oh no, not a tweet. Let me correct myself. This is on Truth Social from Donald Trump, the President Donald Trump. In order to protect our heavy-duty truck manufacturers from outside competition, I will be imposing, as of October 1st, 2025, a 25% tariff on all heavy big trucks made in other parts of the world. Therefore, our great large trucking company manufacturers, such as Peterbilt, Kenworth, Freightliner, Mack Trucks, and others, will be protected from the onslaught of outside interruptions. We need our truckers to be financially healthy and strong for many reasons, but above all else, for national security purposes. This was this was from on Truth Social from our President Donald Trump.
You know what? I don't know of that many trucks I see that aren't made in America or Canada. They don't make much up here anymore, but maybe Hino or Hino, however you pronounce them. And, I've seen in my whole life on North American highways, I've probably seen 5 Scania trucks. Other than that, I haven't seen a lot of foreign-made trucks themselves.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that comes from, because here, let's see.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds great. But there's another portion here in this article. I'm trying to find it. Motor carriers can't. This is from the ATA. Motor carriers can't just absorb higher truck prices and pass them along to consumers. Instead, fleets will be faced with no other option to drastically reduce truck buying and extended truck cycles that will lead to a larger drop-off in manufacturers in the U.S. and Mexico, as well as corresponding drop-off and the manufacturing of what you just talked about, manufacturing new truck parts.
Right.
Showing that the average price of a Class 8 truck costs now, on average, brand new, $170,000. A 25% tariff applied to all new trucks from Mexico would increase the retail price to $200,000. This means that the truck company would have to pay the 12% federal excise tax on the post tariff price of $200,000, not 170. That brings the total price of a new truck to an average price of $224,000, which is simply prohibitive for the vast majority of trucking companies.
So that sounds to me like that's a shot against Mexico.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's a lot. And like you were saying earlier when we were talking about the non-domicile thing, and feel what you want to feel about it. I mean, it's a lot of nationalism.
Yeah, and America needed a little bit of it.
Some of that is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, not at all.
But it is what it is.
Exactly. That's the unfortunate part.
All right. Well, Chuck, I think we covered all the bases for this week.
I think we do. This is our shorter, condensed version. I'd love to know how our listeners are enjoying this. Apparently, we're even a little long at almost 46 minutes. So let us know how we're doing, ladies and gentlemen. I'd really like to see what you think of it, the shorter, condensed version of the podcast.
Absolutely. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Chuck, let the folks know how they can find you and how they can get in contact with you.
If I can help you with anything, just send me an email with your phone number, chucksnow280@outlook.com. Be glad to help you with anything I can. With that, Rico, I'll let you back. We're in a hole for another week.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys for taking the time to hang out with us. We always are greatly appreciative of you doing so. If you would, please tell a friend to tell a friend. Like, share, and subscribe once again. Helps us out tremendously, gets us out to a broader algorithm. We want you guys to continue to stay safe out there, stay healthy, stay profitable. The most important part, keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and we'll talk at your same time, same place next week. God bless you and good night.
Catch you on the flip-flop. God bless.
Take it easy, Chuck.